Hello, math students. Today we're looking at some equations with integers. And next week, Tuesday for one class and Wednesday for the rest of them, we'll be taking our benchmark for Chapter 2, and that will also be our Chapter 2 test. Equations with integers will not be covered on the benchmark, but it's a nice review for equations and also a nice review for your benchmark, because we'll be talking about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers from this. So let's start with problem number 1. This problem says y subtract 5 is equal to -4. Now our goal in algebra is to get this variable right here all by itself. So we want to know, what does y equal? To get that by itself, we have to do the opposite thing it says. We're going to use the inverse of subtracting 5, which is add 5. And if we do that on one side of the equation, we have to do it to the other. And now here comes the review part for adding integers. We have a negative plus a positive. And a few ways that we can look at this: if we say that we start at -4, and we're going to be adding 5, I like to think of my number line being right here. If we're adding a positive, we move to the right. And that means I'm going to be moving 5 units to the right of -4. And that would get me to +1. Now the other way that we talked about when we're adding integers, when the sign is different, we find the difference between the two. So the difference between 5 and 4 is 1. And then we keep the sign of the number that has the greatest absolute value. So this +5 is bigger than this -4 when we're looking at absolute value. So we keep this positive sign, so our answer would be +1. And then, of course, we can always go back and double check with our equations. Is 1 minus 5, does that equal -4? Again, if we start at 1 and we're going to subtract 5, I know that we're going to be moving to the left. In fact, we're going to be moving to the left 5 units from 1. And that does give us -4, so we're correct there. Problem number 2 says p plus 18 is 14. Now one thing, before I even start, I'd like to think a little bit about p right now. Does this number, can it be 0 or 1? Well, if we add 0 to 18, we would get 18. But this answer right here is less than 18. So I know right now that p has to be a negative number. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm solving this problem. My answer better be negative. I'm going to do the opposite of adding 18, so that's subtract 18. And because this is an equation, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. I'm going to subtract 18 on this side. And then I look at these two and I say, all right, I'm starting at 14. And what happens when I subtract a positive number? I'm subtracting 18. I know automatically I'm moving to the left. And I'm going to move 18 units to the left. I'm going to start at 14, move 18 units this way. So what that brings me to is, I go all the way, I go 14 digits to get back to 0, and then 4 more to get to 18, so that gives me -4. Now I can go back and double check. -4 plus 18, does that equal 14? And I could use my find the difference between the two. So the difference between 18 and 4 is 14. Then we keep the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value. This is an absolute value of 4, absolute value of 18, so my answer has to be positive, and yes, 14 equals 14. So I know my answer is -14. All right. For the next one, 9h. Hopefully everybody knows by now that 9h means 9 times h. and that's equal to negative 36. Our goal is to get h by itself. And so what we need to do is the opposite of 9 times h, so that would be 9 divided by 9. And when we do this right here, 9 divided by 9, we actually get 1, so I have 1h. That's a good thing. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, take negative 36 divided by 9. Now if we go back to our rules that we talked about for division and multiplication, the rules are the same. When the signs are different, my answer is always negative. When my signs are the same, my answer is always positive. So I have a negative 36 divided by a positive 9. My signs are different, so my answer is automatically going to be negative. And what is 36 divided by 9? 36 divided by 9 is 4. So I can go back in and double check my work. 9 times my value of h, so I'm going to go 9 times a negative 4, and I do get an answer of negative 36. And just to review, a positive times a negative is going to always give us a negative answer. The signs are different. There's a positive 9, a negative 4. We're multiplying these two. The answer of product has to be negative. Okay, and then finally down to the last one. S, this is divided by negative 9, is 9. So I need to do the opposite of dividing by negative 9. I need to multiply by negative 9. And if I do that on one side, I have to do it on the other. Multiply by negative 9. Now when I do that, I now have S all by itself. And S is going to be equal to the value of 9 times the negative 9. Well, from before, when the signs are different, my answer has to be negative. 9 times a negative 9 does equal a negative 81. And if I go back and double check my work, I should have a negative 81. That's the value of S. And we're going to divide that by a negative 9. And when the signs are the same, here's a negative 81, a negative 9. When the signs are the same, the answer is always going to be positive. So my answer is a positive 9, and that double checks with this right here. So hopefully that helps out for a couple of reasons. We will be doing a lot of work for the rest of the year with equations. So we need to make sure that we get down those rules. But we'll also be having our test for Chapter 2 either Tuesday or Wednesday for all of my classes. And we need to know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide both positive and negative numbers. So hopefully that helps out.